Welcome to the High Queen podcast.
Prepare to embark on a journey through books you'll fall in love with, as well as the leading ladies who inspire our own stories.
Our friendship blossomed from pageantry to page turners, sparking a desire to show other women that they too can be their own main character.
I'm Miranda.
And I'm Autumn.
And together we'll lead you through books of all genres, from epic fantasy series, romance, all levels of spice, even to autobiographies of real life heroines.
Now, we're some passionate bitches, so remember this podcast is rated R and prepare your ears. It's time to celebrate the heroines that redefine what it means to be brave and bold.
So grab your books, beverage, and bestie and crack open your book to page 1. Let's check in with each other.
So yay! Okay, yes, page 1. We're in a new book series. Welcome
book
to
2.
ACOMAF. Okay,
Yes.
A Court of Mist and Fury. We're so excited to be diving into book 2 in the ACOTAR series. This is going to be so exciting. And so to check in, besides the fact that, hey, we're starting a new book, we're super excited about it. What's new with me? Okay. I was just telling Miranda, I've got a sinus infection and it's a pretty gnarly one. So if I sound a little different or a little funky, that's what's happening with me. Things have been super heavy in my life, just like late nights of working, long days. So I don't know how I managed to book myself to be the most busy person ever during the holiday season. I need someone to remind me next year to like take more time off for myself, because I didn't do that. I didn't do that this year, but still trying to find a lot of joy and holiday spirit. And I have a plan to bake cookies with my daughter this week, so that's on the horizon for me. Very excited about that. Cute. And I taught a musical theater dance class last night, so that was so really fun. It was
I want to take one.
We did When You're Good to Mama from Chicago.
Ooh, why Chicago? Was that been on your brain?
From Whitney Lovett? No. No, it's just one of my favorite songs, honestly. Queen Latifah sings it, and it's just feels good, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that's what's new with me.
I love that. I feel like it's got to be fun. You know, I know this time of year, especially the holidays, can get hard for certain people, you know, and I understand that there's a lot going on. It's busy, it's dark, and it's cold, and the holidays bring up a lot of feelings. But to be able to see the holidays through your child's eyes, I'm sure is probably pretty incredible. So I look forward to seeing all of the pictures and what the cookies are that you guys make. She's so fun. And I love seeing everything through your eyes, through her eyes. So it brings me joy.
It's very magical.
I love it. Also, I said it, this time of year is hectic. I've got one more week in the semester of class. I still have some assignments that will be due the week after because everybody does it differently. But then I will be halfway through my graduate degree with Harvard.
Let's go.
Your girl is, I mean, I still have a year and a half, so I won't graduate until May 2027. But halfway. So I'm very happy with that.
Very proud of you.
Thank you. This semester I moved back into being full-time student. So it's been a lot, but it's been good. I got scammed over the weekend. Like my credit card got hacked.
Oh no.
Was horrible. And then my car needed the engine light came on. They wanted to charge me $3,000. Like I have had insomnia a couple times this week. Like I have just been wide awake at like 1 a.m.
Oh no.
It's been a week, finals, all the things, you know, life gives you so many lemons sometimes, and that's okay. We're gonna make some lemonade. So here's the good things. My birthday's in a couple of weeks, so I'm already trying to look forward to that. I have a request. I'm putting it out here so that it can't be ignored. The black bean tacos that I had the last time I visited you. I don't know why, but they've been on my brain since I decided and booked my ticket that I'm coming to
Listen,
visit.
y'all, I did not
So,
know where she was going with that for a minute. I was like, what the fuck?
oh my God, Autumn's husband is an incredible cook
He
and
is.
made these like they seriously, I think, I mean, all the things that he makes are fantastic, but every once in a while the black bean tacos like just come back into my
So
brain
my
and I'm like, I
sister
need
says the same
them.
thing. My sister
Oh,
and you are both
good.
like, I want the black bean mushroom tacos. And Ethan's like, it's the easiest thing I make.
Which is fair. And I do want the recipe, but like I also just want Ethan to make them for me.
I want to not cook for myself. Yeah, say less. Done on the
Perfect.
menu.
I'm putting it out there. Let's plan, the 3 months in advance or whatever. And then in my insomnia last night, I was laying there thinking about, oh yay, I have to get up in just a couple hours to get ready for my full day, record the podcast. But I'm so happy to be here. Like I
Yeah.
get to see my best friend's face every week. I get to do something that I love, which is talk and read, like two of the best things in the world. And I get to do it with not only Autumn, but you guys. And that just it gives me a lot of
Yeah.
joy. And sometimes you just have to find, the little sprinkles of joy. And so
I
that
agree.
one
I
has
agree.
been making me
Preparing for
happy.
this, yeah, preparing for this episode was like, I have to get this done, but also I'm so glad I get to do this.
Yeah.
There was a lot of mixed feelings going into this week, and it has
Like, oh
nothing to
my
do with
God.
yes, it has nothing to do with my love for the book, and more so about like just this time of year
Yeah,
and trying to
absolutely.
fit everything in. But you know what? We did it. So let's talk about ACOMAF.
Yes.
My first thoughts when I read this book, okay, for those of you who, okay, some of you maybe didn't listen to our ACOTAR series. Maybe you already read the book, you were jumping into ACOMAF, so you're new here. What I want you to know is that both Miranda and I have read this book.
Yes. Yes. We
Okay.
have read.
I have read the whole series. I think this is the book you stopped at, right?
I am like a tiny little bit into Aka War. And
Okay. Okay.
then that's it. Like this, I have a little bit of understanding of where we are in this book. And then once we hit the next one, guys, I am on the same page as you when we come
Okay.
here and I'm
Yes.
freaking out. I'm really freaking out.
So, what you need to know is we're going to do our best to not give spoilers for whatever comes next in the book. We're going to speak in the tense that we read it the first time. Okay. So, even though I might know what's, going to happen in the next following chapters, I am going to speak about this in a lens of this is the first time I read it.
Yeah.
And thankfully, Miranda and I have some text messages or like I write notes in my book. So I can actually reference my thoughts from that first time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's where we're coming from. So I say that because I was so excited to get back into this book. I absolutely adore it. And rereading it for like the fourth time brings me so much joy. I think it's because even in these first few chapters, there is so much expansion
Oh,
on
yeah.
what we've already fallen in love with from book one. And I immediately wanted to dive back in and really find out, where Feyre is at. She's in that really dark place. It pulls you down as a reader a little bit right from the get go. You get all this excitement to dive back in, and then it's so heavy emotionally. I'm glad that we got to change settings so early on in the book because I was definitely craving that, and we got it. So yay! What about you?
Yes. Same thing. It was literally the moment and I had said this before, but if you haven't heard this yet, I bought the entire series after only being like a little bit into Akatar before even any of the excitement. So the moment that I like closed Akatar, I think I basically had them sitting on top of each other and I opened ACOMAF. Like I was like, I'm ready for Mist and Fury. I need to know what's happening. I have so many questions. Um, also was just so excited for this continuation of Feyre and Prythian's story, especially because our girl is now a Fae. Like, there's so many unanswered questions that like genuinely are still not answered for me. Um, at the end of that book and as we keep going. So I'm just so excited to like get back into the headspace of what comes next. I'll agree with the changing of the settings. Like I know we got Under the Mountain, but like I have been waiting for more of Prythian, for more of the
Yeah.
Fae. Like Spring Court, she's beautiful, she's sweet, but like there's more going on. There's more here in this world. Give it to me. Night Court sounds glorious from what we've seen so far, but like, of course, we're getting a High Lord's home, right? So,
Yeah.
duh, it's glorious. Like, I'm excited to see where we go in our next week that we spend in the Night Court. If we do,
Absolutely.
because we'll get there, but
Well,
we don't know.
with that, let's dive into our summary of what we have seen so far. Okay. So 3 months have passed since Under the Mountain, and many things have changed, and yet nothing at all. Winter solstice, which happens to also be Feyre's birthday,
And it's
has
coming up.
Yes, yes, it is. It's come and gone in this series of months, and Feyre is back home in the spring court where we left her at the end of book one. She and Tamlin are engaged, apparently, after 1 month of getting engaged, that beautiful gold ring with an emerald. And the tattoo bargain bond that she has on her left arm with Rhysand still looms over them. However, he doesn't call in that agreement during those first 3 months. But
Curious.
most importantly, Feyre is still struggling with the inner chaos of her mind. Her PTSD is at an all-time high, and she spends most nights puking up her guts from the horror of her nightmares or being triggered by the color red. We see that reoccur a lot throughout this part of the story.
Definitely.
Our story opens up with one of Feyre's many nightmares and the reliving of stabbing the fairies, with the final realization that the last Fae she kills in her dreams is actually her new Fae self.
Dun,
Feyre
dun,
is
dun.
I know. The blue eyes comment, I got
I
that right away.
know. I'm
Yes.
just adding commentary. Sorry.
No, I love it. Feyre is drowning in the depths of her despair and the feeling that constant duality of being both, quote, the butcher of innocence and the savior of a land. Her actions under the mountain, however necessary they were, have torn her apart, so much so that she is drawing parallels between her and Amarantha, stating the butcher, murderer, monster, liar, deceiver, and not
Feyre,
knowing who
no.
we're talking about.
Poor
It's
girl.
both poetically chilling and also the beginning to our new adventure with Feyre in her new Fae form. Feyre is extremely closed off. Not much is really being done to help her through this challenge. Mostly she's just being ignored, sequestered, or dismissed altogether. And
Mm.
Tamlin isn't doing much better for that matter, as he fully believes that mental health doesn't exist if he doesn't acknowledge it. And then
So
it
bad.
isn't a problem.
So bad. I'm like, aren't fairies supposed to be higher? They're higher beings than us mere mortals. Mental health.
I
But
know.
we'll get there.
Well, we see the effect that takes on Feyre, and she's then required to stay on the mansion grounds almost exclusively because of Tamlin's lack of acknowledgement of these feelings within both himself and Feyre. Lucian and Alice are still there trying to support Feyre, but no one really knows how to do that while also falling in line for Tamlin and his wishes. Feyre is basically gone numb. She's wearing bright, happy dresses that she hates, but she doesn't have the heart to tell Tamlin. She's carrying daggers everywhere with her wherever she goes, and she can't bring herself to look at paintings that she once loved. The most vulnerable, beautiful part of her has died, or at least been shoved so deep down that accessing it requires her to go through deep pain first. Now, we have a new character in the Spring Court who Feyre turns to many times, whether by bringing Feyre comfort or taking on the burdens of her new life. Ianthe is somehow always there. A high priestess and high fae noble who was friends with Tamlin during childhood. Ianthe wears the pale blue robes and hood with jewels and the phases of the moon on her forehead, but she isn't what Feyre, nor I as a reader, really expected from this character. We discover that the priestesses are not the matronly type, like if we're thinking nuns in the real world. They're
Yeah.
not that, okay? They are encouraged to marry and have children like anyone else. They are not celibate. So they're very sexy priestesses.
And we'll
Okay.
get there because Feyre said, I mean, they're pretty. Well, we've only met in Ianthe, right?
Yeah.
But But she
She's
says
hot.
like she's gorgeous, which is such a contrast to, the only other really fey woman that we've met was Amarantha. Well, and Alice,
Right.
but our
It's
tree
different,
bark,
different type of fae.
woman, we love her, but yes,
Yes.
different.
Now, leading up to this wedding that they're planning, we learn that Feyre's fear of her damned soul and tying that same soul to Tamlin for the rest of eternity is really eating away at her. The morning of the wedding, we witness Feyre go down the aisle in a dress straight from the 80s. Now, nothing against the 80s, but it's like the poofy
But that's
shoulders.
exactly.
It's everything Feyre is not, okay? And it was selected
Oh
for
yeah.
her for sure. And
Mm.
then there it is again, the color red, the exact color of roses that Feyre specifically told Ianthe she did not want at the wedding. It triggers Feyre's panic and shouting into her mind for help and to stop the wedding. And your wish is Rhysand's command because he appears for the first time in 3 months to stop the wedding in all his nightly mystery. And
Of course he
hello.
does.
Yes. Hello, Feyre, darling. Cue new
Mm.
magic because after some turmoil back and forth with him and Tamlin and Feyre, Rhysand and Feyre winnow away. There's our new magic, being able to winnow. If you're a Harry Potter fan, apparate, like disappear, transport, okay? Away into the night court they go. Now, we know so few have been able to go over the borders and live to tell the tale, excuse me. And no one really knows what's out there. But we know that Amarantha apparently modeled her court under the mountain after the night court. And as we land, we're welcomed by an elegant star-filled sky and a home that smells of jasmine perched atop a snow-capped mountain. There's no screaming from the torture like Feyre thought there would be. Rhysand explains to Feyre more about how their bond works. A bridge that their mental space stands on either side of, and Feyre often unknowingly sends thoughts down, even when Rhys is sleeping, including how she can't go into certain rooms or see those certain colors. Once again, Feyre is told that she is a guest and welcome to go wherever she likes, and that sounds real familiar.
Mm.
Wait a minute. Who else told us that?
Where
Okay,
have we been
so
before?
even though Feyre keeps chucking shoes at his head, Rhysand is
So funny.
quick to encourage Feyre to do more than just exist. He
Mm.
reveals to Feyre that she not only needs to learn to read,
Oh, amen, baby. No, we can't be illiterate anymore. No.
but she also very well may have received powers from each of the High Lords. What?
Mic drop. Mic drop.
That's a lot of information. He wants Feyre to help convince Tamlin to align with him and use her powers to help Prythian prepare for an oncoming supposed war with Hybern, that small territory that's in an island adjacent to Prythian that holds the king of Hybern, who was, for lack of a better term, Amarantha's big bad boss. Feyre's room in the night court is one of dreams. It's open to the sky, but it's also constantly warm. It has an infinity style pool bath that hangs over the mountain and looks up to the stars.
Give
Culture
me
and
that.
blessed. Oh my gosh, I know.
Ugh.
So we also learn that the dawn, day, and night courts chose to go with more of the natural order of nature and the sun's path. So they have evolving seasons, evolving temperatures, which I think is really interesting. The other seasonal courts, their seasons derive from the type of magic that they have. It's not something they choose, it's just inherent and passed down. It's part of the magic system. And while we're in the night court, we meet another new character, another female. Her name is Morgan, and she gives us all the banter, the snark, and even a warm hug. Yay, girls! We love it. So Rhysand pushes Feyre to question the world and influences around her, bringing us as readers back to questioning if what we feel is also true or not. Morgan tells us that there is an attack at a priestess temple where everyone was killed. And of course, this, of course, tells Feyre how serious things are and that the threats of the world are far from gone. Feyre's time in the night court goes pretty fast, and with no time at all, we are back in the spring court. Her color has returned to her face. She's filled out her body a little bit more, and the marks under her eyes are finally gone. We're ready for Tamlin to whisk us away, but instead, he decides that it is interrogation time. Feyre agrees to tell them everything about what she's seen or learned while she was in the night court. And in return, she is shut down at every turn when she wants to know anything more or asked to dive deeper into her new potential powers and her new self. End of discussion and end of summary.
Because we only want to talk when it's valid for us, Tamlin. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Well,
We'll
that
get into
leaves us,
that.
unfortunately, kind of on a downer note. But to be honest, that's where the chapters left us. It
Yeah,
left us
it's
feeling
not.
defeated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, our Feyre is really like, obviously, she's the main heroine of our story. She's really the only point of view we have in this story. We're going to start with talking about her today because wow, there's so much to dig into here. And while a lot of the emotions are the same for her throughout these few chapters of the book, there are hints of something else lying beneath the surface. And
Oh
so I'm
yeah.
so excited to get into talking about her. She clearly and so badly wants to be helpful and put to, a positive use. I felt so sad for her when the people of the town turned her away, saying, the debt has been paid. We don't need your help. And
Yeah.
she once again is feeling useless.
She just wants to do something. Like she's like, just let me help. And that, and I don't know if we're gonna mention this, but I even thought she doesn't want to hunt, but she does. Like, let
Mm,
me do something. I don't want everybody to watch me do it. I don't need to be a spectacle, but let me do something. Why do I
yeah,
need to be this, put on a pedestal and sit here and look pretty? That's not who I've ever been, and it's not who she wants to be.
absolutely not. And, we're learning also, this was such an interesting little factoid. All those people from the town were kept in tunnels under the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Cue, concentration camp style thoughts is
Yeah.
exactly what popped into my head. Um, and that is just so incredibly sad. But then for them to look at her and say, the debt is paid. I would feel like it's not enough if I was her.
Right. That's so much. And when she learns that later about what, the average everyday Faye went through,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, how would you,
The
again, the
equivalent of who
weight of
she
the
was in the
world.
human world, right?
Yeah.
Like in the
Yeah.
human world, she was the equivalent of that.
It's just,
That's
that's a lot.
crazy.
And you're already
Now,
dealing with so much up here in the brain,
yes, I
mentally.
know.
It's a lot.
And I really did understand Farah's need to, evaluate every room that she walked into for survivability. Like I got that and understood it so well. I remember doing this when I was a little kid of going
Mm-hmm.
into a room and like looking for every optional exit, every place I could hide, and like going through every scenario of how I would get out. And now I'm like, is that a normal feeling? I'm relating to Feyre. I don't know if I should be right now.
Maybe not. It's
What are we
okay.
revealing? Is that not what people do? Everybody doesn't do that?
Well, I think that's a
No?
broader discussion because I get that
Oh
to an
no.
extent, especially like today. Sometimes when you walk into certain spaces, it's like, okay, where am I sitting? Like my husband always has to be facing the door.
Oh
He
yeah.
always has to be facing the door because God forbid something happened. He wants to be able to see to act. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I want to be able to see. I don't want my back to it. And he's like, but I could protect you better if this is where I want us to sit so I can see the door. Like I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I
I
get
get
it.
it.
Yeah. Uh so I understood that feeling that she was having. I thought that inner monologue was so interesting to relate to. And clearly is a form of PTSD for
Oh
Feyre.
yeah.
Um, this
Trauma.
girl, yeah, she's doing some heavy masking. Okay. Like this part killed me. And she's like, she made herself look Tamlin in the eye, made herself smile
Mhm.
to appease his feelings.
And like you're engaged to this person. Like you should be able to uh, you should be able to
Be
feel
yourself.
and think and be yourself no matter how broken and devastated and
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, she even goes as far to say like she was thinking about asking Ianthe to pray that she would one day learn to love the pretty dresses and her role as a blushing bride. To learn
Just
to
so
love
sad.
something that is like not who you are. But was that ever who Feyre was? Like, even in the
No,
first book, when we think about it, like, that was never really who she was to begin with. But I think it's even more obvious now and how she's changed. And I mean, clearly Feyre doesn't really know herself yet because she's making a lot of decisions that are not in her best interest in this first part of the book that are really more
she's
to
feeding into
appease
it.
those of others. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And I mean, she even says to herself when asking Tamlin about high ladies, right? She's like, it's not something I ever really wanted. And then it comes up again later, and she remarks like, oh, I'm so glad I don't have to be doing all the things that a high lady would do. Not something I'd want anyways. And then it says an inner part of her roared in protest at that
Mm-hmm. At the
monologue,
thought.
at that thought,
Mm-hmm.
like, why would you think that? And wow, how relatable. Like, I know I've had thoughts before that then I go, that's not me.
Or you say something out
Where did
loud
that
and you're
come
like,
from?
wait, that's not, yeah. I think we've all
Yeah.
done that, right? You're in a space where you're like, oh, this is who I'm supposed to be, or this is what I have to do. And, we both did and do pageantry. And that is absolutely a space where you can think, I have to be a certain way. I have to
Yeah.
fit into a certain mold and say and maybe do things,
Yeah.
that I wouldn't necessarily that's not who I am, So,
Right. And
yeah,
I mean, for us, I think in a lot of those ways that's like a professional setting. Like,
for sure.
we're not going to drop an F bomb in the middle of a
Oh,
beautiful
no.
gala, you know? but
No.
but yeah, I get that to a certain
That would be
extent,
so
and
bad.
like needing to mask a little bit. But I think hers goes into a very detrimental space of
Oh yeah,
masking. Yeah.
absolutely.
Now, I will say, going to the night court, oh my gosh, it felt like such a breath of fresh air. And not just because it was a new setting, but I felt like I was breathing easier for her character. I mean, even
Oh
just
yeah.
the fact that she got the best night of sleep of her life. She is like, oh my gosh, everything's open. Somebody who's constantly checking for, are the walls too small or in and enclosing in this room? Oh, well, here there are no walls.
Right. It's all open.
There's
It's
no
and
walls at
and
all,
you're told
right?
I can go anywhere. You are not a prisoner. You are a guest who
Yeah.
is welcome to go.
Yeah.
I mean you can't leave the night court, but you are welcome to roam it and kind of do as you
Mm-hmm.
please, and she's not being allowed to do that in her home.
No. Now, as we continue throughout these ACOMAF episodes to talk about Feyre, I want to do a power check when we're here because we know that she most likely does have powers from each of the High Lords. So here's what we know so far: she's super strong and she's learning to shield from Rhysand. We don't know or haven't quite seen any of the other powers emerge. So we're looking for, our solar quartz, night, dawn, and day. We're looking for our seasonal quartz, autumn, winter, spring, and summer. And as we go through our episodes, we'll start to fill in the blanks of what are the powers that she gets. Yay!
I am so psyched to know, like, because I what a like revelation. And when we get to Resand, I have like ideas with this too,
Yes.
but just how cool for our girl. And as we wrap up this episode, we'll talk a little bit about like what we learned from Feyre, but to have her be told there's this power within you, like literally, but also figuratively, you can see that it kind of changes her view on herself just a little bit. Like we're getting inklings
Mm-hmm.
of her like feeling something under the skin and like
Mm-hmm.
pushing back a little bit right there at the end. So very excited. And like the first thing I wrote was Feyre is quite strong for a high fae. Interesting. I write interesting a lot when I'm taking notes or like curious,
Interesting.
which I was like, oh, I'm like Rhysand. Interesting. Because that's what he kept saying about our girl Feyre. So yeah, and then we learned that she put Tamlin on his ass with one punch. I'm
Big
like,
strong Tam Tam.
right? Who's supposed to be this like, you know, I was just like, okay, all right, and then my brain goes, is it one of those things where like when Bella becomes a vampire?
Stop. I was thinking the same thing. The same
So
thing.
like when you first become and now granted, most people aren't made. And that's something I think we have to like touch on with Feyre is she was
Right.
made into a fairy.
Not
She was
born.
not born. So that's just so curious to me. You know, she was made. So will these powers, will this strength, will they like dissipate as it almost like settles in her body, kind of like the venom within a newborn vampire in Twilight? Or is she just this like super
This is who
badass
she
bitch
is.
that's got this crazy power? Like,
Yeah.
so
I think
interesting.
we have to
And then,
keep reading to
yes,
find that out.
which is fair, is fair. I'm just theorizing. But then then my brain, because I've been, you know, curious, we get the end of ACOTAR and Reese is shocked and stumbles and now we know the word winnows away. Was this why he was shocked at the end of book one? Like, because he's the first person to say something to Feyre about this power. Now we learn that like Tamlin and Lucian thought that it might be a thing, but they want to suppress that. But could he sense that? Could he see that? Could he feel that within the bond? Is that what that was? Where maybe there was like a moment of fear and he needed those 3 months to come to terms with Feyre and like what she might be. I just, so yeah. That was a question within my head. God, right off the rip. I mean, we talked about it in the summary, but maybe I'd always been broken and dark inside. I was the butcher of innocence and the savior of a land. The lines between me and the queen had long since blurred. Like, we already talked about this, but I just feel like we need to reiterate, like, what a way to open book two. So dark and depressing. And so, I mean, you know, in book one, Feyre saw herself as this kind of like dark, depressed person, but now she's literally connecting herself to Amarantha, the most egregious, nasty character we've gotten yet. That just, you know, my heart always breaks for this girl.
She can't see the nuance between the murders she committed out of necessity and the murders Amarantha committed out of cruelty and joy.
Yeah. Because they're so, I mean,
and they're very so different. They're very different. And the ethics of that, I mean, like, we could get into it, but
well,
Feyre can't see the difference. She doesn't at this point believe there is one.
Right. Which then I think gets into like the next things that I clocked about Feyre in these first couple chapters. She is so enthused to be getting married and to be a wife, which is probably like, oh yeah. No.
Did we read the same book?
We did. I mean, she literally is about to say no. And this happened fast, which like I have a problem with Tamlin for. But whatever, like we're proposing that quickly and like we're getting married
proposing
that
quickly. Fire. Getting married that quickly.
Red flag, all the red flags. And maybe so things work better differently. Yeah. And I get that maybe things work differently in Prythian and like, you know, there's this idea that she's a savior and we need to stand together and whatever. But I'm like, you're a dick. Anyway, she wants to say no. She wants to not go through the wedding, at least at this moment, because she says she wants the mating bond to prove that she is worthy of him. And she wants them to heal more, not just herself, not just him. But the mating bond thing I think is super interesting because we don't really know a whole lot about that. His parents, they weren't mates, right?
They were.
Oh, they were, but they weren't a good match, right?
Correct.
Yes. But people do form relationships and get married in Prythian and without High Lords take consorts without it. But just so it's interesting that she needs it.
Yeah. The way Tamlin explains it in book one is like, it's a beautiful thing to find your mate, but it doesn't happen for everybody. And like,
it's not necessary,
mates, but it didn't mean that it was a good match for them.
For sure. But just interesting that that's something that she's like holding on to so much that she needs that to feel worthy of her fiance, of her future husband, of this person that she loves and he loves her. And she doesn't really know herself anymore. She's just existing and fucking. to be honest. Like, that's all she's doing. She's just there. And then having sex with Tamlin. And like we get another great sex scene from Sarah J. Maas. Like, thank you for that. It's great. But it's evident that Feyre only really feels anything when she's intimate with Tamlin.
Yeah.
And that's so, so bad. She's only feeling shame and pain. And literally, she says that he distracts her. Quote, for a moment, I was nothing, no one. Like as he's like in between her legs, like, well, how wonderful. But girl, we gotta chat. We gotta talk. We've got to get through this. I yeah, it's just it's interesting. I haven't made you watch it yet, but I had to note this that her wedding dress made me think of the masquerade ball in Jim Henson's Labyrinth from the 80s. So we'll watch that. You'll get the reference and then you'll be like, yeah, I see that too. But so for anybody else who's seen that, that's what I envisioned for Feyre's wedding dress, which is gorgeous, but not our girl Feyre. And then the last two things, I know that like my notes are all over the place, but I talked about her being made and resurrected, and now she's got these nicknames, if you will. Feyre Curse Breaker, Saver of Prythian, World on Our Shoulders Again, and she doesn't ask for it anytime, and here we are. But she's also not allowed to do the things that she would want to do with that on her shoulders. Like she wants to help people, but now she's just being asked to be like a figurehead. Like just be there, be around, maybe speak occasionally. You know, link Tamlin's arm, he'll take care of it. Yeah. And then this may lead more into another character than her, but when we're in the night court, I find it interesting that like Feyre refers to Rhysand as Rhys, like in her head, which is a very friend thing to do in my mind.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I go back to that trauma bonding is real. Okay. And
100%.
they are trauma bonded from under
They
the
are.
mountain.
He
Just like
steps off.
like her and Lucian are also trauma bonded.
Oh, for sure. Poor girl just needs somebody else. She thinks she has Ianthe, but we'll get into her. But something I clocked when Rhys steps off the veranda, Feyre's heart stops and she wants to cry out. Is it just that like you don't want somebody to die, but you know he has wings? Like I just felt like that. I felt like the way that she thinks about him is really weird, and then it's very conflicting, right? Like she wants to see him as an enemy because Tamlin sees him as an enemy, but she doesn't, and like that's okay. But you see this like grappling back and
Yeah.
forth within her of how am I supposed to feel about this person who helped me, who was there for me, who is now continuing to be there for me. He wants to teach me, he wants to allow me to do things that Tamlin is telling me I cannot do. And so it's just interesting to see this like conflict, this inner conflict within her about the characters within her life as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, one of those characters being Tamlin, I had,
Mm.
man, a really hard time with Tamlin in these first few chapters. I wanted so desperately to understand where his fear was stemming from. And I get it, like the loss of his family and the murder of his entire family, then being witness to, you know, the love of his life being tortured and literally neck snap dying in front of him. I get his deep need to protect everyone around him and to feel in control. Okay, fair. And yet, two things can be true at once. Okay. His unwillingness to meet Feyre where she is at is so disheartening. Feyre even suspects that he knows that she's up having these violent dreams and puking her guts up and is choosing not to console her at night. Like she suspects that because she can hear the pattern of his breathing. What? Okay, that's suspicious and uncomfortable for a reader to be like, wouldn't you want to console her? But his pain is too deep for her to be able for him to be able to.
They both need therapy separately and together. Deep,
and
deep therapy.
We just touched on this, but I think it actually gets glossed over in the book. Like it's mentioned briefly, but we move so quickly past it, which is the idea that I wasn't Tamlin's mate As far
Mhm.
as I knew, there wasn't a mating bond between us yet. That's all that's dropped, but it feels like a bomb, not an Easter egg.
Right, like they expected that that would happen. It's supposed to happen. They're waiting for it to happen. It needs to happen.
Yeah. I mean, and then you think like, okay, we don't know much about it, but
Mhm.
perhaps it's something you have to be married to click in place. I would think it's just sex or less, like
Right? Like
this
when you
big,
say I love
powerful
you, you
magic,
kiss, right? Wouldn't
and
it
then
just
bam.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
you'd
So
feel it,
that
you'd
was
know.
concerning. And
Mhm.
then, let's talk about Tamlin's possessiveness slash protectiveness, because I
Mm.
think that becomes very blurred. And his dismissiveness of Feyre's thoughts and feelings is really what I hated in these chapters. Okay. He knows that Feyre is a go getter. She gets shit done. She's that girl. But the hardcore stifling and that, like, he's stifling that instinctive part of her, the part that she really is at her core. And I hate how he is using intimacy to muddle her mind. He tells her
Mhm.
that there is no such thing as a high lady, almost to the point of making her like feel silly for bringing it up, and then proceeds to finger her until she drops the topic.
Right,
And then
just
he
stops talking.
yeah, yeah. And then he does the same thing with his own apologies. He's like, I'm so sorry that I didn't listen to you. Here's my dick in a box. Forget about it.
Mm.
Like,
Dick in a box.
yes, that was an SNL reference. Um, add this to the
Justin
fact
Timberlake.
that the study is covered in claw marks when she returns from the night court. Annie states, with no discussion about Feyre's choice, about her body and her powers, that there will be no training. End of discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Possessive is a great word. We've gone from protective to possessive, and
yeah, it's not a
it's
good
not
look.
looking good. Mm-mm. And it doesn't help her. It doesn't help him. It doesn't help her. It doesn't help anybody.
Mm-mm.
I also am so frustrated with the beginning of these chapters when he does not get up when she is every night having these nightmares, throwing up in the bathroom. You have heightened face senses, bro. She can tell that you are awake and you are doing and saying nothing. Like,
Yeah.
if I would punch my husband in the balls. If I'm sorry, but like if every night and I mean, and he wouldn't, but my husband's great. I love him. But I really struggle with that. And he's being so damn stubborn. Shocker. He wants to
Mm.
protect her, but he's keeping her cooped up. And then that makes her feel like she's under the mountain and the walls are closing in. And you're not helping her. You're
And I
making it worse.
right, and I don't think he can really understand how Feyre is feeling because he never saw her in the cell.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
don't think,
yeah.
and then they don't talk about it. So I don't
No.
think he realizes that this is way too reminiscent and triggering for her.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of, yeah, I think he thinks it was the same moment for both of us. The moment your neck snapped, the torture in the chamber. But he doesn't know anything that went through her mind, and physically, mentally, what she went through. And Reese later in these chapters, he says Tamlin sat on his ass for 50 years, sat on his ass under the mountain while Feyre was being ripped apart. And you know what? I kind of agree, and he's kind of doing it again. Like, honey,
Yeah.
I want to root for you and I want to root for the two of you, but what you are doing is not great. And I know, I mean, you said it, we've said it. He's terrified. They say it multiple times. Lucian even says it. He is terrified that his enemies will get his hands on Feyre, so he is suffocating her.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, somebody's got to notice that this isn't working, right? But also, then how do you say anything? Which I also think is a very interesting dichotomy, if you will, between the little bit of the night court that we saw and what we've seen of the spring court. So Morrigan and Rhysand have some sort of leadership connection. She governs over something. And then you've got Tamlin and Lucian, who's Tamlin's emissary and one of his top officials. Lucien is not really willing to push Tamlin's buttons. But Morrigan seemed like
Mm,
she was with Rhysand. And so I find it just so interesting that Feyre doesn't want to push Tamlin. Lucien doesn't want to push Tamlin. Nobody wants to push Tamlin because what's he going to do? But also, he
yeah.
didn't do anything. So I don't know. Why are we all surprised that he's going to do shit? I don't know.
Yes. And even this, you're right, this tiny little window into another form of operation and leadership, again, starts to make you question, do what we know and feel, or is what we know and feel true?
Mm-hmm.
Because we spend the entire first book with just one little version of Prythian in this one
Right.
court with this one set of leadership. And so you think that's the way it must be. And we're being told this is the way things are. Calumet, this is the way it works. Okay. This is the procedure. This is what gets done. Historically, we follow these protocols. And that gets a little bit broken when we see Rhysand and Morrigan speaking. And then it makes
Mm-hmm.
you begin to question Tamlin.
Right. Because you're like, this just seemed, he's telling you that, like you said, this is the way. Well, is it?
Does it have to be? Just
Exactly.
because it is, does it have to be?
Do I have to be this version of your bride? Does there have to not be a high lady, which we learn is untrue?
Yeah.
I it's
I
all so
know.
interesting. And I don't know if this matters, but in the moments of the wedding, as Feyre is walking down the aisle, she says that Tamlin is still using a glamour.
Yeah.
Which I was like, why the fuck is he still using
Why?
a glamour?
Why do we
Shit,
need
that's
it?
I I now again, this is the second time I have read this. I don't think I realized that the first time. And I read that and I literally I think I put my book down and I was like, why are you glamoring over your or yourself for your wife? I just that was so weird to me.
Who's now a fae and knows everything about this world. Like, you
Right.
don't
And
need
should
it.
know everything about you. And I that really bugged me. And yeah, and Feyre knows it. She knows that he's still glamoring himself to her. I again, second time I've read it, and I did not catch that the first time. So this time I was like, I'm
Like a
gonna write that
literal and
down.
figurative wall. He
Yeah,
puts like a barrier.
yeah,
Oh, that's so
interesting.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us at the same time. So interesting.
Interesting. Oh my
Ah.
god.
Well, do we want
Um,
to do we want to move on to our other man?
I do, but I want to. I I have to touch on one more thing.
Oh
I,
yes.
I have a small brain. I'm terrible. Feyre tells us Tamlin is well endowed. Sarah J. Maas makes it a point.
Oh yeah.
Do you think all High Lords are? Like, are Fae
Yes.
perfect? Like, all of
Yes.
their dicks are perfect, right?
Yes.
Like, okay. So that's how I just, I read it and then I was thinking about the chapters I had read on my drive home yesterday. And that scene was still in my head. And I just was like, they're all perfect, right? They're all exactly what you want them to be. The perfect, what does she call it? A proud length. They're all that, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, we can
I
we
would
can move
think
on.
so. I would think so. I mean, yeah.
I was
I
like
can't
that.
think of a reason for them not to be,
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Or
not
is
to
it a
say
high? Is it a high lord thing? Like, is Lucian's not perfect, but Rhysand and Tamlin and whoever else's are?
I think it's a Faye thing.
Yeah, I agree. But sorry, I small
No.
brain, and I
No, 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 no. I argue that's an expansive brain.
thank you, thank you.
Oh, well, speaking of our other High Lord who we get to see just a little bit in these first few chapters, let's talk about Rhysand. So we see Rhysand reappear to us with golden skin, no longer pale from under the mountain. Feyre admits to herself that Rhys doesn't feel like an excuse me. Rhys doesn't feel like an enemy to her, and she never told anyone about their conversation under the mountain. She kept that to herself. Now,
Mhm.
I adore Rhysand's reading lessons. You look absolutely delicious today,
He
Feyre.
is a prick, but I also love it. Like, you're such an
Oh my
asshole.
gosh. Right? Now, outside of the humor of these first few chapters, he is constantly remarking on how Feyre isn't a subject for Tamlin, nor is she a doe-eyed, simpering wife. He is constantly challenging her, whether it be about her identity as a Fae or to push her to learn to read and learn her new powers or to shield. He helps her go from being an underfed shell to more of a female that is reminiscent of the woman she once was. He helps Faber realize that there's so much more to her life than the small bubble that she's being placed in, and even challenges what Tamlin says about being a high lady and her ability to be equal to Tamlin.
It's again this dichotomy between courts, between people. Tamlin is telling us one thing and Rhysand is telling us another. My God, give me the freaking summer court or something. Like, what, and
What do you think? What about you?
right. All seven. Let's weigh in, right? But yeah, it's just so interesting. These little bits of the night court that we get in of Rhysand, who's also a high lord, and how differently he views Feyre and their world and the way that their world can work. It is very curious. They're like, okay, and the night court is supposed to be this terrifying place.
Yeah.
So what's actually happening behind the scenes? Are you this open? Like, what are you just doing all of this to prepare me for war? It's all
Could
very
be.
interesting.
But let's also think back to I think both Tamlin and Rhysand, I think their characters have been very true since book one. Like,
Yeah.
look at Rhysand. The first time we meet him, he is protecting Feyre, right? But not in a way that is possessive. He's not being like, get behind me. He's
You're
just
mine.
being like, hey, let's play a little game. Let's have a little role play. Oh, I've been looking for you. Okay. And then next time we see him, it's in the dining room and he's being himself. He's being like, I'm gonna lay down the law. I'm gonna make Tamlin go to his knees. And we see him under the mountain. And he's the only one to bet on Feyre,
Mm-hmm.
knowing she can do hard shit. Okay. And once again, he is telling her, you're not a subject to anybody. You are an equal. Almost like it's, I'm gonna bet on you again and again. You can do this.
And
he
they all
he's been this
watched the
person the whole
same.
time.
Yeah. And they all watched the same thing happen under the mountain. Now Rhysand and Lucian saw a little bit more than Tamlin did, but Tamlin was there for these trials.
Yeah.
Everybody was there for these trials. And yeah, it's so interesting the way that he views her, the way that they view her differently. And like you said, Rhysand believes she can do hard things. And I'm sure Tamlin believes and knows she can, but isn't willing to let her. And now she's a fae. Like, she should be able to do harder things. But I found it so interesting how people react to Rhysand. We've heard that he's the enemy. We've heard that the Night Court is this scary place. Ianthe is literally written that she drains of color and disappears. She runs away from Rhys. Wedding guests are climbing over chairs to get away from him, which is such a funny visual in my head. And I haven't seen, like, because AI creates all of these videos for us to see the books in action. I haven't seen that, but the images in my head are so funny. And I'm like, wow, who is he? What is the extent of his power? Why are people so terrified of him and his court? Like you said, Rhysand and Tamlin have always been who they've been. Rhys has always been open and honest with Feyre and has these open conversations with her under the mountain. He says, war is coming, Feyre. This is what I see in you. This is what you need to learn. And Tamlin hasn't said a thing, which is what he did before. He pushes her away, which is what he did before. Like, it's, we're talking about Rhys, but it is very interesting that they continue to be who they were, even if maybe we didn't see some of the good and some of the bad in each of them before.
Yeah.
Also, interesting that Reese wants to teach her things. I also wrote down, you look absolutely delicious today, Feyre. He's toying with her. He loves to poke the bear. He's flirting a little bit. Like he knows what he's doing. He wants
Mm.
to get a rise out of her. He wanted to get a rise out of Tamlin. Like,
Like when he licked her tears away under the
which
mountain,
still,
right? Like we're like,
wild
what
choice.
is happening? Oh my gosh.
And the
Yeah,
poor
that's who he
girl,
is.
she's mentally exhausted. And he just keeps being like, Rhysand is hot. Rhysand is the best High Lord. He's courageous. He's, all of the things. Um, Also love that I was like, is Rhysand a feminist? Because he's like, there can be a high lady. There can be this. I'm like, okay, if nothing else, he believes in Feyre, but also the way he interacts with Morrigan is
Yeah.
just it's interesting. And we haven't seen a lot of female interaction between high fae. So it, who knows what that looks like for other people. But yeah, the way that he speaks to women and the way that he interacts with them is just different. Um, Often it's written that he flickers with rage, which I
Mm.
find interesting because we also get that from Tamlin at times, but Rhys is like on and off with it. And we
Mm-hmm.
don't see as much of it where Tamlin the claws come out a lot more.
Right.
We see the scratches in the study, and Rhys does have the moment where the wings come out and there's the night kind of rippling off of him. But I just the rage within him I'm very curious about.
Mm-hmm.
And why didn't he come for 3 months? What was he doing? What was he planning? He's cunning. He plays chess while everybody else is playing checkers.
Yep.
So he's smart, he's clever, he's cunning. He continues to be who he is. What is he going to give us in our next visit?
Oh, I cannot wait to see. If I'm being honest, I'm ready. I've seen a lot of this mansion. I can tell you what color the floors are. I can
Right,
basically
the
walk through it
marble.
mentally in my head. I'm like, I'm ready to see something else. Okay.
Give us
Uh,
more.
so speaking of, the mansion and our other resident there of Lucian, it feels
Mm.
like Lucian is trying so hard to be there for Feyre, but he really has no clue how to be her friend. And his allegiances to Tamlin don't allow for really any wiggle room there. I do appreciate though, like he went ahead and took her into the town after Tamlin saying no, 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 no. He's like, here, come on, come with me. I'll show you why. Okay.
Yeah, let me at least give
Let
you
me at
some
least show
understanding.
you. I'll be there with
Mm-hmm.
you. Um, and he wants to help her get better, but he's stuck. I really want his inner monologue. Like,
Right.
I want inside your head.
Give me Lucian's POV
Because
just a
we
little bit.
know that he doesn't always agree with Tamlin. Remember in the first book when he spat at his feet? Like, we
Mm-hmm.
know that he doesn't agree with everything Tamlin says and does.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a soldier. He'll fall in line.
Yeah.
So I want to know. I want to know more about what he's thinking. But that's my thoughts on Tam Tam. I mean, sorry, Lucian. We're
He
just
needs a what's
living
his
my brain
nickname?
together.
Lucy. Our little
Ew, no.
Lucy. Okay, I thought of Lucifer. There's this
That's
show that
better.
I watch where the nickname of Lucifer is Lucy, so that was the connection in my
Oh, I got
brain.
you. I was
Yes,
like,
yes, yes. Not yeah, not like Lucy.
I love
Yeah.
Lucy.
No. um I want his POV too, especially something that sticks out for me is he says he doesn't want to have to choose between Tamlin and Feyre. And like clearly he'd pick Tam Tam, right?
Yeah,
Like
he says,
they've
don't make me choose.
but also interesting that he already says though that like don't make me choose. Like I would have to sit here and have to grapple with that. And he hasn't known Feyre that long. So I think that just sees like the depth of their trauma bond and their friendship a little bit too. Of like, I'll
Yeah.
choose Tamlin, but it'll be hard to do kind of thing. Or at least that's how I took that.
Mm-hmm.
Um his red hair reminding Feyre of Amarantha. That's
I
mm,
know.
mm,
I know.
the color red. Like,
Speaking of his hair, she does note that it's a different kind of red.
yes.
And then I did note that it brings back up Lucian's golden skin,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know why I was imagining him as like a pasty leprechaun.
Right? Like super pale.
I'm so sorry. I don't, this is not redheaded hate, okay? We obviously don't have that here. My mother's a redhead. Miranda's husband's a redhead.
Yes, we love
But I
redhead.
was imagining a certain style of redhead. Okay. I was not imagining a tan, golden redhead man.
And I can appreciate that. I kind of just pictured my husband.
With
Because I
long
was like,
hair.
oh, redhead, yeah, with red.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. But we
My
do
husband
get
with
that
long hair.
description. So I was like, let's throw that in there. Okay.
Yes, yes. But like, yeah, I mean, his hair is a different shade of red, but like Feyre has to look past him, kind of, she can't look people in the
Yeah.
eye. And I was like, oh, we love the red hair. I also, Lucian wants to be the peacekeeper to an extent, right? Between Feyre and Tamlin when they do actually like talk and interact. He takes
Yeah.
her to the village. He's trying to, broker. He's being an emissary between
Mhm.
bride and groom,
Yeah.
basically. And
A
he,
therapist, if you will.
well, I'll go to therapy with Lucian. That sounds great. That sounds fun. Snark, 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 snark. Um, he's very by the rules. And like he does push buttons on occasion. He did, with the blight and with Amarantha. But now you can tell that he doesn't want to. He also wants rules and order. Quote, I am the first one the others look to. I set the example. Don't ask me to risk the stability of this court by pushing back. Not right now. He's giving you as much free reign as you can. Everybody has a part to play in this scenario, in Tamlin and Lucian and Feyre's scenario. Everyone has a certain part to play.
Yes.
And
Feyre, your
he
part is to be the bride. Shut up and get married.
yeah, shut up and sit down and, smile and speak when you're spoken to. And he wants to keep order and Tamlin is supposed to be, the High Lord. And it's I would think we don't know a ton about his past and his family, but we get little nuggets that's probably how things are in the Autumn Court and how he grew
Mm,
up. That's
yeah.
probably also what his life was like. It was order, it was structure. This is the way. So
Yeah.
that kind of gives me insight into okay, here's another court that maybe does things very similarly to the Spring Court. So
Right next to each
then
other, too.
that is true, right? They are connected.
Mhm.
Which I yeah, on the map, I like need to print it out and put it on my yeah.
Yeah. So, listeners, I'm showing Miranda to the map, but it's in the front of the book. But yeah, spring and autumn, really
Yes.
close together.
And of course, you can listen. You can also watch us on YouTube if you want to see our facial expressions and all of the things. But yes, they're connected. Maybe they do things a little more similarly. So that just gave me a little bit more insight into maybe Lucian's past as well and
Mm.
the way his family works. Now, our next character, Lucian, I don't think is super fond of, and I don't know if anybody other than Tamlin and Feyre kind of seem to be fond of, at least from the opinions we've been given.
Yeah. So, Ianthe, that's who we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about here. And I will say, I think Feyre feels more like indifferent. She's like a crutch. You know what I mean? It's not like you're not
Yes,
my
she
friend,
relies on her, but she's
but
not.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're here. um, so here's what we know about Ianthe, okay? Because it's not a lot, but it's enough. She's
Mm-hmm.
the youngest high priestess in 3 centuries, currently childless and unmarried, but we know that both those things are encouraged. Feyre confides a lot of things to Ianthe, including everything about her family and the human lands, but nothing about her actual feelings about all the things Ianthe is preparing, other than the color of roses, which Ianthe specifically goes against and chooses red roses. I found that to be like, what the fuck?
Not a girl's girl. She's a
What the
bitch.
fuck? Okay. Like that gave me plenty of insight into her character right there.
Mm-hmm.
I did find it odd that Ianthe cowered, like you said, away from Rhysand. And I took it to mean like they know each other. She knows him.
Mm-hmm.
Not just she knows of him.
She knows him and knows his power or his wrath
And I
or.
got that when Rhysand makes comments, snarky comments about Ianthe too. So I was like, you
Mm-hmm.
two know each other. I want more. I want that
Mm-hmm.
backstory. Okay. But that's really all we know about her right now. And, also that she is a little bit power hungry, perhaps, but
Mm-hmm.
that's about all we got.
And maybe all of the high priestesses are, which like I'll bring that
I
question
don't
up
know.
again later. But yeah, Reese does not seem to have a high opinion of Ianthe. Lucian
Mm-mm.
kind of shrinks away from the conversation about her more than like giving an opinion.
Yeah.
Because she kind of, I think she's coming on to him and he doesn't seem to really want that.
Mm.
Which is also interesting on the power front because Feyre literally, or is it Feyre? Maybe she clocks this. Somebody says, she can be Tamlin's right hand and then produce, these high fae with Lucian if she were to, marry him or I guess
Mm.
seduce him or
Well, Feyre
whatever.
even says at some point that Ianthe would be better for Tamlin
Mm-hmm.
than her wretched soul.
Yes. I also literally, she describes him, she's this childhood friend of Tamlin. And she says, with her bright golden hair, teal eyes, elegant features, the whole body, she looked more like Tamlin's mate, his equal. Like she
Yeah.
clocks that this is what bride, I was going to say high lady, but that's not a thing in the spring court. This is what a bride should look like. And
Right.
she's letting her kind of play that role too and fill that role.
But is that true, or is Feyre just very self-deprecating?
Right. Because she does. She continues to describe it like she calls her a bright, cunning female, which cunning I think is an interesting word.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Which I
yeah.
think Feyre is as well.
Mm-hmm. And now she doesn't see herself very highly right now, but I I find that sad that like she looks like Tamlin's equal. I don't,
Mm.
whatever. Did you ever read House of Night by
I did
PC
not.
Cast? We'll have
No.
to add that to our TBR. They have like forehead tattoos and it just reminded me when we get
Mm.
the kind of this description of her forehead. So we'll have to add that to our list.
Yeah.
Really great series. Uh and then I don't know if you felt this way, and I said that Feyre seems to be a little jealous of Ianthe, and maybe it's more so just jealous of where Ianthe is as a human, or not a human,
Mhm.
as a being, as opposed to like where Feyre is in her journey of immortality. I often wondered what it was like to be that free and so settled within yourself. And I want to say too, and this goes back to Feyre, of course, not Ianthe, but Feyre is so young, like literally in both being a human and being a fae,
Was
because
she like 19 now?
yeah, 19. She's only lived 19 years. And if she had been born a fairy, she would still be a kid. Where
Yeah.
Tamlin and Rhysand and Ianthe are young, but they have lived at least 50 more years than she has, some of them hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Um, so she definitely has a lot more to discover of herself, but the way that she like describes Ianthe and like the power that she's kind of like looking for and the things that she does and the picking of the freaking red petals is all just interesting. And then we get, this like idea that maybe the high priestesses are kind of trying to take some more power as Prythian rebuilds itself. So I'm like, what
Mm.
what is your goal? And you were gone for 49 years. Now I know your daddy made you leave and go somewhere else, but you weren't here.
No.
You don't understand, and
Well,
you definitely don't understand what Feyre went through, what Tamlin went through,
no, not at
what
all. And
Prythian
she
went
does
through.
say that the other priestesses don't really like her.
Yes, that she's different,
So
feels
like
different
this
or
is
something.
what we know about this element of Prythian right now. And then we have this night court city of priestesses that have been murdered.
Yes.
So there's a lot hanging out here of big questions, but that's what we got about Ianthe so far.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so speaking of other, wonderful female fae characters that we get introduced to would be our Morrigan. Long golden sun-kissed skin or long golden hair. Sorry, she doesn't have long golden
Long
skin.
golden skin. It's like
Ew.
peeling off.
I don't know what that means. She has long golden hair. Okay. Sun kissed skin, rich brown eyes, and she is graceful and grounded. I love the pairing of those words. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly understands how to use weapons, including just the way she like holds a knife for eating,
Like
which
a
I
butter knife, right?
yeah. And Feyre clocks it right away. She's like, you know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I love that she hugs Feyre within like 2 seconds of meeting her. Like,
And knows that this
I'm a
girl
hugger.
doesn't want to be here.
Oh, I love it. And then the way she's snarky with Reese Sand, I'd love to see Reese's balls nailed to the wall.
I want Lucian to
Hilarious.
speak like this. Like, come on, Lucian.
Hilarious. Yes. And
So
then
good.
and then she's like, Feyre's like, I'm glad to be here or something like that. And she
Yeah.
goes, liar, you had nothing to do with us. I was
It's just like,
like,
I'm gonna be truthful. I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say.
oh, I already love her. I already love her. And we know that she's considered to be Reese's cousin in
Mm-hmm.
some roundabout way, and that she was not under the mountain, but we have not been revealed where she was during that time. But she does introduce us to two new characters, not physically, but just talking about them, which is
Mm-hmm.
Cassian and Azriel.
And I'm curious to know where she was because she like almost says it, and then I think like Reese gives her a look or something,
Yeah, yeah.
and she decides not to. So it's like, what again? Playing chess. What's going on? You
Yeah.
know, we're
He
getting
exactly. He keeps her from saying some stuff, but then she looks to him when she's going to give that report about the priestesses. And
right
Reese is like, yes, stay here, say it in front of her.
because that
He
has
is
to do with
playing,
war.
he is playing a game. Yeah.
No more eavesdropping for young Feyre. She just is there.
Yeah.
Um, only surviving family for Reese. Morrigan is Reese's only surviving family. How sad. I'm sure we'll get more about that. I'm very curious to like learn more about that because she clearly then must not really have any family if they're cousin. It yeah, I was like, oh, that's sad.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Everybody's just out here living alone. Um, we are told that she's Reese's female equivalent in terms of beauty, which I think is kind of interesting because we in the first book in ACOTAR are described that Reese is the most
Mm-hmm.
beautiful man that Feyre's ever seen. So Moore must be fucking drop dead gorgeous. Love that for her. Um, and I just want to reiterate, I love that she just kind of irks Reese. Like she just kind of pushes his buttons because he clearly likes to push buttons, and I'm like, you go, girl. Yeah, just I love their interaction back and forth and her interaction with Feyre. Um, I'm sure that she'll continue to come up, as will Cassian and Azriel, who we don't know, but we hear their names.
Yeah, we mostly just know like they're important to security and they're somewhat intertwined with a special race of people called the Illyrians. Beyond that, we don't really learn much.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we can always blurt this out. Um, when we get back to the spring court and they're asking Feyre for information on where she was, she says their names, Cassian and
Yes.
Azriel, and they
Yes.
like Tamlin and Lucian like kind of like they make a face. Like they also know of them.
Yeah, they know who these people are.
So somebody that's going to clearly come back or have some backstory.
Yeah.
So in our next little jaunt to the night court next month, for our 1 week, I'll be curious to see if they show up or if they just kind of continue to be these like elusive,
Mm-hmm.
scary, I guess, people. I don't know.
That's
We'll
how they're
see.
kind of being made out to feel right now, for sure.
Yeah.
So going into our future episodes, let's clock some things that either didn't quite click this time fully or stuff we just want to watch for. So, number one, right off the bat for me, is that mating bond. It
Mm-hmm.
has to mean something. Like I said, it didn't feel like an Easter egg, it felt like a bomb drop. So, I do think we need to watch for that. Next for me, it's the use of italics in this book. So I said this in our final episode for ACOTAR. I'm going to bring it back up again. Sarah J. Maas specifically italicizes the words "because I trust you." Now, I know this is Feyre's inner monologue, but sometimes Sarah J. Maas italicizes things that are an inner monologue, and sometimes she just italicizes for emphasis. So
Mm-hmm.
I like to clock them anywhere they are. The other one is Rhysand's italics inner thought of "you are no one's subject." Those things keep coming back into her mind. And
Mm-hmm.
then she italicizes the word thing only, and that thing beneath my skin began roiling. So I love those little blurty moments. I think we should keep watching for them.
Yeah. It's kind of like the she. We no longer have a she, we have a thing.
Yes, yes. Next for me was Ianthe's connection to Tamlin and Rhysand, and how, Feyre acknowledges like she wants power. She would be better for Tamlin. I want to see where that goes. The claw marks on the study when she returns, covering the study, the furniture, just like we don't know what happened, but it's insinuated that Tamlin did
And
all of
why didn't
this.
they fix it? They put in a new table. They've fixed things before. Just
Mm-hmm.
found it interesting that they left it too.
Yeah. Um, I clocked that it feels a little bit like Lucian is shrinking. Like when we left in the last book, we had this like kind of like badass version of Lucian, and now he's just falling in line.
Mm.
Um, where is Rhys going? Where he's jumping off mountains and flying away? Where is he going? And then what is Mor in charge of? Right? He says like I put you in this leadership position is what Rhysand says. What is that? What leadership position? What are
Right.
you in charge of leading?
And a female in charge again just seems like a
It's
interesting.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um Azrael and Cassian, of course, that mating bond, the Illyrian war bands, like these are all things that stand out to me. The winnowing, I'm also curious. I think we've learned a little bit that some high fae, well, do high fae have powers or is it just high lords? So then,
Mm.
like, Lucian could heal, but can he do any of the other things? So then when
Mm.
we bring in this idea of winnowing, we just see Tamlin and Lucian ride off on a horse. Or beast form or whatever, but Rhysand winnows in and out. So and more too. So I was just curious, can
Yeah.
others do that? Is that like a night court specific thing? Is that a
I
Rhysand's
don't
family
know.
thing?
Yeah, I don't know, but I do remember Feyre noting that like Tamlin didn't need to ride the horse, but he
Mm-hmm.
does to keep up appearances.
Appearances. Right. Well, and I took that as like he could run there faster because doesn't she want to
Yeah,
walk into the town with
yeah.
Lucian? And Lucian's like, that'll look weird. We're not going to do that. So that then also made me wonder, she's clearly never seen him or them do something like that. So I was like, oh, is
Mm-hmm.
that like a region specific thing? I don't know.
No,
I'm yelling into the void. Can Feyre shapeshift and use mind talons? Of course, we're gonna get there with what all of these little nuggets of power could look like. But I'm like, what can she do? What to
I
what
know.
extent? I don't know how to say this.
Balahan.
Valahan, Hybern. I'm curious about this world beyond Prythian and like the human lands because we're only getting such like a small nugget, but now we've heard of this other place, Valahan. So I would love to see like that extended map. And
Mm-hmm.
if war comes, how far does that extend? Are fairies everywhere across this like planet? I I don't know that that matters, but my brain was like, whoa. The Tithe, Tiff,
Tithe.
Tithe. Do other courts do that? Like, I think that's, a curious thing with the way that they run. Um, I found it interesting too with there's no such thing as a high lady. And I want to know more about their society. Tamlin says that, but they seem to be such a feminine society in that like
Mm-hmm.
they talk about the mother and the cauldron, and that all feels very feminine. So then to
Yeah.
not have these high ladies or a high queen, which we've only seen with Amarantha, like I'm curious to know more about the way that their society works, and maybe again it's a difference between courts, those camps under the
Mm-hmm.
mountain, if that will kind of come into play again with an impending war between some fairies are maybe on Hybern's side and some maybe aren't. um and I think I brought this up last episode, but I'm going to bring it up again because we continue to talk about the bond. Is this a deal that others can make? Is that something only Rhys can do because of his mind control and his mind powers? We talk about like not knowing what will happen if they break this bond. Is that because it's,
Mm-hmm.
again, a Rhys specific thing, or can others do this? Like, I'm very curious to know more about this bond, um, and kind of where it comes from and how that works. high priestesses are trying to take control, question mark. What does that look like? And then again, we kind of get this mention of Ianthe being ordained by the hand of the goddess. I hadn't, and unless I just missed that, I don't think we've heard that before. The hand of the goddess. So again, this
Yeah.
feminine mother, hand of the goddess, cauldron, fate, like all of these just kind of like beings that I want to know more about. Now we're gonna play some music for a second. Okay, we're out of the music. We made decisions. Sorry, guys. With having read some of this series, I just want to make sure that like we're not giving away things that we shouldn't be giving away. So what I was going to mention, I will bring my questions forward later.
Yay. Okay. So wrapping this up, we like to end the High Queen podcast talking about the heroine's journey and how we can take nuggets of what Feyre is learning about herself and apply it to our own lives. So Feyre starts our story here describing her old self as being erased and feeling triggered by many things: the color red, Tamlin's outbursts, and even the size of a room. She desperately wants to feel useful and to do something good. Her identity has been confused with the guilt of her survival alongside the deep need to be needed, and then turned down at every turn. In the first book, she is discovering, and now she is reshaping. Trauma is a difficult beast to defeat, and something that I believe many of us can relate to in some way, whether a small trauma or something that is life altering. We can relate to Feyre and how she uses emotions like camouflage and wears her numbness like an armor. Her journey in the beginning of this book reminds us to listen to our inner voice and that tiny roar that lives inside. Feyre being dismissed constantly can feel reminiscent of how the real world can be quick to dismiss women and the ideas that we place our value in. But we see that as Feyre steps into an environment that honors her and challenges her, she is given the space to rediscover, to reshape, and to be reborn. We all have the ability to honor our own power and to learn from Feyre that even if we feel lost now, it may be that we are only waiting to be rediscovered.
Becoming the best version of yourself, the next version of yourself.
Yes.
There's not a whole lot that I can add to, what you just said. Because yeah, this is all great. I think Feyre teaches us that therapy and talking are important, that it's good. It's good to communicate. It's good to communicate with each other. It's good to have somebody outside of your life and your understanding to help you process. Her one stint in the night court has her sort of standing up for herself when she returns to Tamlin and speaking up for herself too. And I think that's a good reminder that you are an advocate for yourself, right? Speak up for yourself, stand up for yourself, and know that sometimes you know what's best for you too, not necessarily the people around you. I'm really hopeful that our stubborn Feyre will kind of break out of her trauma, and become, like I had said, a better version of herself who is strong in this new body and mind, but is also happy and is able to break through. We are humans. Feyre was human, and Fae clearly have their issues too. But we as humans, we go through a lot. Life isn't sunshine and rainbows constantly. It gives you lemons, like we talked about at the beginning of this episode. Sometimes it's a little sour, it's a little, depressing, but we can rebuild. We can, like you said, rediscover and find, I think, a little bit of light. It may just be a little nugget at the start. And for her, that little nugget might just be that I slept okay, or that I'm back with Tamlin, or that I got to go into the village. But maybe that'll expand and she can find more strength and more happiness and a little bit more light in her life, and maybe even some color again.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we are going to continue on in our next episode through the end of chapter 22. Y'all, this is a big
Yes.
chunk. We're going from chapter 8 through the end of chapter 22. There's going to be a lot of ground to cover here, and it gives you the ability to really dive in. Now, I will say that we selected this mostly because once we start diving into these next few chapters, you're not going to want to stop.
You want to keep going. I mean, you
You're gonna be
always want to
like,
keep going, but
you're gonna be like, I gotta keep going. I gotta keep going. So
they
this
told me to put the
may
book down. I can't.
so just know like this is a little bit bigger chunk, but we did it this way so that you could allow yourself not to stop at a point where you're like, I have to read the next chapter. I gotta keep going. So that being said, I know you want to keep going, you want to keep listening, but we got to close the book on this one.
Hey, every epic needs a cliffhanger, right? So let's just savor that suspense.
Remember to like, share, subscribe, and write a review.
Unless it's bad, I'll say that forever.
And before you remove your bookmarks to prepare for next week, please remember that whether you are conquering your own kingdom or just cozying up with a good book, you are the main character of your own epic tale.
All right, queens, for real now. Put the book down, hold your crown high, and we will catch you on the next page.
Okay, phenomenal. All right. I'm just gonna
Both just over here, like, what's
yeah.
the Sharpay and oh my God, I just lost her brother.
Ryan?
Ma, ma.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my god, my nose. Okay. I'm ready. I'm so ready. In 3, 2, 1.